Demystifying Chaos of Managing and Leveraging Asset Data from Multiple Systems. Today, our speaker, Johnny Bofilius, is going to talk about leveraging analytics for planning, scheduling, and work management. Johnny comes to us with over 15 years experience in EAM, data analysis and reporting solutions for asset reliability and maintenance management for large multinational enterprises. I want to go ahead and thank you for your interest in this webinar. We hope this will be worth your while. Keep sharing your questions and comments with us throughout the chat window. Now I welcome Johnny.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks everyone for taking this time to join this webinar. We consistently do these types of webinars to kind of educate everyone on some thoughts around how they can leverage data and make better decisions. This is the third part of this particular series, and it's all about inform insight. You know, as I got down on the bottom of the screen, it said surrounded by data but starving for insight. And that's really the biggest question everyone has when they have enterprise asset management systems and HMI systems or SCADA systems or PI systems. And, you know, how can they bring that data together? What value is it in bringing that data together? And then what can I do with it? One of the things that I want to do in this call is I'm not getting a lot of questions, so I want to kind of see what your thoughts are. You know, see if I've given you any takeaways or anything to think about. So whoever asks a question will be put in a hat. I will just write that name and put it in a hat and draw that name. And one of the solutions that we provide at Asset Analytics is an analytics readiness assessment, and we can forward you that information what that is. But if you want to ask a question, we'll draw your name, and hopefully one of you will win this opportunity. All right, you've seen me talk about this, the how and the why, and it's all about, you know, everyone's got systems. You all have either SAP or Infor or Maximo or Oracle. You've developed processes, or you maybe hired some engineering firms to come in and help you, you know, develop your workflow processes, your operation processes, your planning and scheduling, and you've got people. You train people to do the, you know, to know how to maintain the equipment. Train people on the processes, you train people on the systems, and you get pretty good results. What we want to talk about is how can we leverage those systems and those processes and those people and incorporate a fourth component to that, which is data and analytics. And then we can leverage to see, okay, are our systems helping us? Are our processes improving? And our people, how can we leverage all this stuff to make our people more efficient? So that is where you can take the results of bringing in all this information in that fourth cog and making better decisions. So as an example here, you might have SAP, and you've got people, and they're inputting the data, creating work orders, creating issuing parts, issuing labor, walking through the whole workflow process. And on the other side, you might have controls and sensors in an HMI system or a PI system. How can you bring those together to make better decisions? You also have great processes, workflows, things that are to help you manage your maintenance program, maintenance and reliability program. And the goal is bringing it all together. You want to know what's happening, where is it happening, how is it affected, all the way up to optimization. So as we've been doing this series, it's important, and I think we spent time on why and how, and now this was the results phase of the webinar, and it's how do we use this data? What can it do with us? What can it do for us? So we all know, and I talked about this in the first two, your objective is one of these boxes up top, or all of these boxes. Reducing total cost of asset ownership, improving productivity, or reducing risk. Then we talk about the processes that you're putting in, whether you're doing lean, reliability center maintenance, condition-based monitoring, or some type of compliance. And then you bought an EAM system like Maximo or SAP or Infor to leverage and do all this. But then you got all these other systems. How do you, and the objective is to bring this together, figure out some kind of mapping that you can tie it all together, improve the data quality, improve the data integrity, and then model it to make better decisions. This approach right here is very important to lots of organizations because they can leverage all these systems that they invested in and able to get these types of results. So how the results, let's talk about the results. This is what this presentation is all about. So how do we use data, right? How can data analysis help us with our performance of our assets? So if you look at this, if I'm trying to identify underperforming assets or monitor asset performance or look at, repair versus replace strategies or asset lifecycle strategies, how can I do that? Well, without data, I'm unable to make these types of decisions. Data is the key to solving some of these problems. So if I want to identify underperforming assets, I can do asset ranking based on utilization, availability, reliability. If I want to monitor, if I want to do mean time between failure, mean time to repair, it's not possible without data. If I want to do, life cycle analysis, if I'm not issuing parts and labor and all the costs and services around in the work order, I'm unable to understand how much my assets are costing me versus, replacing them, or, how much effort am I putting into my assets. So, this is very important information, and it provides a lot of critical solutions. And let's just say we're focusing on reliability. My, couple problems is, okay, what are my critical equipment? How do I manage the risk? How do I evaluate the effectiveness of and the efficiency of the program that I'm implementing based on my process? Again, data is the key to providing this information for you. So, a couple of, sometimes, I'll be in with some of our customers, and we'll talk about, do I have good data? Do I have bad data? Do I have any data? Everybody has data, and data is there. It's just how do you make better decisions with it? How do you use it to get some of these results? So let's look at some examples. I'm going to jump over here. So for example, let's just say I want to have, I want to be able to see my data and understand what's happening. So, we talk about the first slide of how can data, how data helps me. So in this example, I can look at it by site across, and I can have I can look at how am I doing, how am I scheduling, how's my manpower effectiveness, how's my PM compliance, how's my reactive work, or how's my even utilization of the system that is used to track all this maintenance. So this is very important because if the utilization of my EAM is not high, then I'm unable to get this information. The same thing goes if I go over here, if I click on reliability processes, right? So if I have certain processes that I've implemented from my reliability perspective, and I want to know, what's my percent PM yield, or what's my mean time between failure, or my average maintenance cost, I can kind of bring that information and see where I'm at. Most of the times, you'll start off with a red, but the objective is, and I hear this all the time, I always hear, hey, you know what, let's just get our systems in, and then we'll worry about getting the metrics up later. No, if you don't understand what the end in mind is and what you're trying to achieve, then you're never going to be able to doing those reports. If I don't create failure codes, and if I don't put start dates and end dates on my work order, how am I ever going to be able to get mean time between failure if I'm not collecting my downtime information? So as you can see, different types of ways to use the data and leverage the data that comes from other systems. I might use SAP or Infor or Maximo to do all my work orders, but I might have another system that helps me manage my mechanical integrity program, or a calibration system, or something that's out there doing inspection. I can bring that data together and visualize it and make better decisions with it. Another good example is, let's say I'm bringing in downtime from another system, and let's say I'm using the EAM system to let me know, what my mean time to repair is and what my mean time between failure is. And so now I'm leveraging data from two different systems to kind of help me align how am I doing for the last 7 days, 30 days today, and I buy failure code, and then, and what my downtime is. Again, to do this, it's probably feasible, but if you can't combine the data together and visualize it, it's harder to make better decisions. And a lot of you struggle because you have to find ways to correlate this data, put it in Excel, manage it, manipulate it to get to the results that we see here. The other example that I wanted to demonstrate is how can I use data from other systems like finance or HR, where I can say, okay, you know what? This is all my labor. This is how much labor I have. This is where, and I can use the data to make simulation type decisions where I can say, okay, I've got 100 people and they average work, I can say here 7.5 hours a day, and this is their average rate, and this is their overtime. My overtime, well, it wouldn't be 19%, so say my overtime is 5%, and then on the bottom, on the right here, you can see current workload versus backlog, and that's the actual data, the workload data is coming from EAM. So it's showing me how many hours I have, and I can even look at the work order backlog by type. So what's my workload? What's my workload by PMs, corrective maintenance, and emergency work orders? And as I make these decisions, let's just say I'm using the EAM system and the processes and the systems and the people to make them. I'm going to improve my meetings. I'm going to reduce my meetings, or I want to improve my, my planning and scheduling productivity by X%. What impact will that have to my availability, my overtime, and my backlog? So, and also, what is the savings? How many hours can I save, and how many save? Now, in 99% of the time, when you do a simulation like this, when you look at labor productivity, it's not about reducing headcount. It's about reducing contractor time, and it's about reducing overtime and utilizing utilizing systems. If you can improve your planning and scheduling, your time, you're having better information during meetings and having all this data, you would basically improve your mean time to repair, you reduce, and then you have and then all that at some point has a direct impact on reliability, equipment reliability, and equipment uptime. So in these three examples I demonstrated the first one was using data to manage my processes. So it was the one around my KPIs. I have maintenance processes, reliability processes, mechanical integrity, or maybe turnaround. The second example was all about asset downtime, bringing data from other systems and being able to say, how can I use that data, the downtime data, correlate it with my enterprise asset management data to make better decisions? And of course, the third example. So as I've done this presentation for the past couple of weeks, we talked about the why. Why is it important? Well, it is important because, we want to kind of find where our areas of opportunity is, what's costing us the most, how do we make better decisions? The how can I leverage the technology? 99% of you probably have some type of reporting infrastructure, like Cognos, like Tableau, QuickView, Business Objects, Crystal Reports, and you have enterprise systems like SAP, Infor, Maximo, and you also have these other systems, and you can leverage those reporting systems that you currently own to create this dashboard type views without having to go and buy additional software. Why would I go invest and buy something else that's going to sit on top of what I already own, where I can leverage what I've already invested in to make the decisions with it? So this was the whole concept around this webinar series, was leverage what I own. No need to buy anything else. So as we wrap up this session here, I'm going to talk about that. The last two slides are all about how can I leverage analytics? How can I, analytics will show me what's my performance of my asset. How's my data? What's my metrics? There's also a component of data integrity, data collection, data lifecycle. And then, of course, once you get good data and you start driving better data, you can start doing advanced decisions, PM optimization with the data, MRO optimization, modeling, things like that. It's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey that a lot of you face. It's just like a journey on your enterprise asset maturity or maintenance and repair, maintenance and reliability journey. But you all have systems. You all have quality issues. You need governance. You need information sophistication. And the most important one of all, user adoption. If the users don't adopt the system and you don't move them through the maturity curve, you never get this information. And 9 out of 10 times, most of the time you hear a user, I'm not sure why I'm creating this work order. It just goes into some black hole. So the objective is for us to be able to drive this from left to right and get it to use the data, information, insight, decisions to make better action. So in saying that, it's all about, as we said, insights, making better informed decisions. So at this point, keep these kind of simple, small, quick, and to the point. And it's time for, I'm hoping I'll get numerous questions that can maybe ask, if you have in the back of your mind, say, hey, I'm facing this issue. I'm thinking about this. Maybe I can give you some good feedback. So, Nilesh, would you open it up for questions?
Hey, Johnny, yes, we have a couple of questions, and
okay.
We'll of course, I'll just pick some of them. Johnny, one of the participants is asking, you showed great metrics, you have good reports, insightful reports, but if I don't have data, how do we, get all that?
Well, yeah, the key thing is every time, like I said, it's a maturity. So when I go back to my maturity slide here, sometimes we have partial data. Sometimes we don't have good data, but we do have data, and that's the key. And in order for us to drive those metrics from red to green, we got to start somewhere. So a lot of times we'll see customers, we'll put the metrics up there anyway, whether we got the data or not, and then we show where our weaknesses are, and then we configure EAM and the other systems to drive that data to make better quality data and slowly move it from this left to the right. So, whether you feel like you have data or you don't have data, you got to start somewhere. And when is it the time to start? And the time is now. Start leveraging exactly what you have and start cleaning it up and driving it towards the right.
All right. Hey, one more question. One of the participants has is, we have a lot of data, but we don't have downtime data available. But with that, is that possible to have such metrics?
Yeah, I mean, some organizations do have sophisticated systems for operations to measure, operational uptime and downtime. Whenever the equipment comes down, whenever it's down for something, whether it's changeover or whether it's a maintenance problem or whatever. And if you're unable to have a system like that, a lot of times what you can do is you can leverage, your EAM system and create some type of web collection form for the operators to track that information, put in the codes, the reason the downtime occurred, and create an event inside of EAM so you can then bring that data together around your mean time between failure, mean time to repair, and downtime types analysis.
All right. Hey, we have some more questions, and we will maybe answer them on email or maybe through other communication. Thank you very much, Johnny, for such an insightful presentation. Thank you, every participant, for being patient in listening. We will have more webinar series coming soon on data analysis and reporting, covering various subject matters of maintenance and reliability. Keep following us on the website. We will send you emails and updates on the same, and we hope you to register. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.